This is Simon Christensen, and you came to ReWildU
1.5 months.
1.5 months ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And I guess so. Yesterday you did this blind day experiment, and you said that it's kind of tied into some of the other things that you've experienced up till now. So it'd just be cool to hear about your blind experiment and just what you've, not a lot of people get to go and live out away from all of our stuff, our civilized stuff for a long time.
Yeah, so, being able to go away and live in not such a civilized manner for longer periods of time, you learn a lot of different stuff. And the blind day, when I had spent some hours with the blindfold on, I could notice how all in my experience was getting more. The best word I come to think of is intimate. A more intimate relationship with things I felt and heard and tasted, like food tasted more as well for some reason. And it felt like I was more in my own internal world, more than interacting with an exterior world. And when I was getting frustrated at some point because of the stove, I couldn't get the fire going again.
Because this wasn't just blind, I'm going to sit in one place. You were trying to
live
your day.
Live a day normally. I was even trying to make some dough at some point, and I'd followed the recipe supposedly, and my fingers were all sticky and everything, and I had to add more flour to it, but I forgot where I'd put the flour jar, so it was impossible. I kind of have to abandon that project, because with no more flour, then I couldn't find the flour jar at all. And you know how the dough sticks.
Yeah, your hands are these mittens of sticky dough, and
and I was thinking of removing the blind as well, but then that would become all sticky as well. So so there were frustration in a lot of stuff. I remained calm for most, but when the hut was getting too cold and I wanted to have a fire, I had to cheat. So I kind of broke my promise though with spending a whole day. That was the mission, was spending a whole day blind. But I put them back on after I made the fire. But when I did that, I realized how beautiful the day was outside. And I went outside, sat there with my blindfold on, but after a while I did remove it. And how I said I had an intimate relationship with my own internal world. When I took the blindfold off, I felt like it was still that intimate relationship. I kind of dragged that with me into the experience without the blindfold.
So I'm trying to picture this for people that haven't experienced being blind. Usually our vision kind of tells us that the world is out there, but without vision you felt like the world was right here, like it's internal, like it's happening here rather than out there. But when you're saying when you took the blindfold off, even your visual field, you experienced this
to some degree at least. It felt like it was a meeting of the external and internal world. A cliche way to say it would be internal and external became one. But it felt like that. So that's why I decided to finish half the day without the blindfold, because it felt like there was something to learn about that transition. Instead of just spending a whole day blindfolded, having that as a mission and going through with it, I allowed myself to break my own promise, which is something I rarely do. But I did allow it this time, and I'm glad I did, because I probably spent a few hours just being in awe of sight.
Wow.
Like, sight is something we take for granted, and I think people who were born with sight and lost it would agree that it is something we take for granted, and I appreciate it more now, but now it's a day after, so, you know, it's kind of back to normal. But I learned something from it, and my take from it is that there might not even be any such thing as internal or external. Like, there could be a debate of whether it's a difference between the two, but I don't think there is any, like, internal or external. I think, like, that's just another label, you know, in terms of spiritual path, you know, like non-duality and stuff. Internal and external are, to me now, just a story, kind of. Hasn't changed my experience, but it's like, it's another golden corn for experience and discovery.
On the subject of contrast, you've been on the kind of forced monk diet, which is pretty basic, for quite a while now. Today, we're on a field trip up to Lake Superior here, and it's also a going into civilization field trip where, well, the first thing we did is we stopped at a restaurant, kind of a cafe, and you said something that was kind of almost shocking. You said this was maybe the best meal you've ever eaten in your life. Now, and I know this is not the best restaurant in the world, and that wasn't the best plate of food in that kind of way, but what did you mean, and what was going on there?
You know, there's doubt in saying that, because I would have to have all the meals I've ever eaten in front of me to really be able to say that, but I could say that with certainty, because it wasn't necessarily the taste that was making it so incredible.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, you know, when you long for something that you haven't had in a while. I think it relates to anything you can imagine in life. If you want it for long enough, or you've stayed away from it for long enough, then it's 10 times better the next time you have it. Which could be like getting fire in the stove after you've had a cold night. Like, if you have it warm all day, then you don't appreciate that fire as much. And I haven't had like a cheesecake or grilled ham and cheese for such a long time now, so, or any similar meal. Like, I've been eating beans and rice and, yeah, probably mostly that for a while now. And that just took it to a whole new level. And as you said, it might not have been the greatest restaurant ever, but to me it was kind of,
Wow.
you know, it really doesn't matter the quality or the number of stars the restaurant has. If you've stayed on beans for a month, then any restaurant will do, I guess.
There's that Zen story about the butcher, and somebody asks him, like, which cut of your meat is best? And he says, everyone is best. You know?
It's a good saying.
And that, yeah. Huh.
And also that really relates to losing sight and getting it back as well. It's the same. It's not the same contrast, but it's on the same topic of contrast and appreciating something more when you know that how life is without it. And that's why I felt like I had some of my, like, one of my more amazing spiritual experiences when I got my sight back. It was also because of there was this amazing weather, but also just contrast. Yeah, it's amazing, and I think that'll encapsulate a lot of the goals with this whole program. Really, the contrast is making me able to find my balance. Maybe when I get home as well, I've been able to experience how it is without some things, and then when I get back, and I'm like, oh, I don't have to have it all the time, because I appreciate it more if I limit it or spread it out instead of having it all day or every week or something.
So you don't foresee yourself going back and being like, oh, I'm never going to play video games again, or I'm never going to eat a donut again, or...
I'm looking so much forward to get home and play some video games. But at the same time, I know that I won't enjoy it unless I limit it and do other stuff as well. Like, if I don't, then I'm really looking forward to something that I won't enjoy if I do that whole day.
Yeah.
So there's no point in like going back to the same extreme as I was earlier. I think, and also another extreme is to play it all day or never play it again, as you said. But the balance is key in that, I guess, and I think that relates to food as well. And I imagine myself going blind for a few hours now and then, like once or twice a month, maybe.
Nice.
Just to kind of remind myself that there is this contrast and how much we appreciate side.
I think when you said that about the meal you were eating, you know, I looked around at all the plates of food at our table with our whole group, and it just made me realize kind of the beauty of our civilization, that we've created something where we can all sit and, you know, we can choose these different meals and have these amazing experiences. But if we're doing that every day, it's so easy to, you know, I've caught that in myself again and again. You sit down to this really great meal and, yeah, you eat your way through it and talk to the other people and ignore the food almost. When, wow, there's these incredible experiences in nature, but also in this world we've created. If only we don't get so sucked into them that we just are habitualized to them, and we no longer taste that food, we no longer enjoy that video game, we no longer, you know, enjoy that warmth of our house, because it's always warm.
Yeah, and I think it's also fair to say that, you know, the food can be, like, even today I was having an incredible experience with the food, but I had to catch myself sometimes eating bite after bite and going into the same rhythm as I was in before. But I catch myself and it's like, oh, now I'm just eating like I was doing before, like before I came here. But I stopped and I took a step back and I took another bite and returned to that more present feeling with the food, and I returned to that incredible experience of the food again. But I had to catch myself. I think even now I still have to be careful of that, because just even spending 3 months without it isn't enough. You kind of have to be careful about that, I think, your whole life, if you're going to take something from that.
Yeah, I think, you know, living in our civilized world, I totally agree. Every day I find that it sucks me in, so that, I don't know, I just feel like I'm a machine almost. I'm just moving mindlessly through life, and then catch myself doing that. I can come back into being present and enjoying whatever it is, you know, that's there. But it's so easy to get just hypnotized or something like that.
Hypnotized, yeah. It's a good. You kind of get lost.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's interesting. You know, I'm not that interested in. I don't follow any religion, but I am interested in how religion points to so much of the stuff that, in my experience, seems to be real. For example, this contrast. I think it's fair to say that we can live in heaven here on Earth, because we have all this amazing stuff that civilization is giving us, as you say. Like, there's so much good to be experienced, but we're kind of not allowing ourselves to notice a lot of that.
Yeah.
And then we're so much in our mind going on about the stuff that isn't right. And that's hell. It's not somewhere else, or yeah. And also I think I had a thought yesterday when I was hiking after I took the blindfold off. I was contemplating, and I thought, like, comfort is another thing, because you can sit around a campfire with your friends, have a good meal and everything is fine. But if you're used to the sofa and a comfortable chair, you have amazing food on the campfire and you're sitting on a stone or something, and if you're not comfortable there, like, if the stone is grabbing your attention too much, then you're not able to enjoy that amazing food or have company with your friends. So also, I think me getting rid of all the comforts, or most of them, is a big part of this, both in terms of food and everything. Like everything ties together. Everything I learn here is getting tied together in one big ball of knowledge and experience.
Well, thank you for doing this first video. Hopefully we'll get to see you more in future videos when you break through the ice.
I know it's coming.
Share in the comments if any thoughts you have about this idea of contrast, or the good things in life being so present in your life that you haven't been able to experience that contrast. And I know some of you, if you're bushcrafters or ultralight hikers, or veterans, you've been in situations where you don't have those comforts of life, and what are the gems that you've pulled out of those experiences. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you.